And welcome back to the channel. Today we've got our 5 best bets for college basketball here on December 11th. Before we get into the best bets today, I know yesterday wasn't the best. I've got some things to say. Tennessee, thanks for completely blowing the spread in the second half against Miami, who has been horrible all year long. North Dakota State, I have no problems with you. We love the Bison, and maybe I should only pick teams in the Summit League. In fact, we're going to be doing that a lot today. Let's hope it pays off. Then DePaul's banned. I don't care. You know, they just suck. 22 games in a row now you lost in the Big East. Nothing's changed. Losing to Providence. Yeah, no, DePaul's horrible. Banned. Who else did we bet on yesterday? It didn't go through for us. Penn State. I said Ace Baldwin's going to have a big game in order for Penn State to be successful. And you know what happened? The exact opposite. Yeah, a nice 2 for 13 performance out of Ace Baldwin yesterday. I mean, the 2 times we pick against Ace Baldwin, the Buffalo and the Purdue games, he goes crazy. But then, of course, when we bet on Ace Baldwin, he sucks. And then don't even get me started on, actually, I'm not mad at the Rhode Island game. They played a tough game. They went on the road to Brown and lost in double overtime. It is what it is. I'm not too mad at that one. But the other 3, it's ridiculous. And DePaul is banned. They join the ban list now. We will have an updated ban list for you very soon. But for now, again, these are the teams in the ban list. DePaul is going to be right here joining them. I hope they lose out again in the Big East for the 2nd straight season. Okay, let's now move on, folks. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more daily college basketball predictions or best bets here on the channel, along with our daily NBA predictions on the channel as well as yesterday we posted our college football predictions. So we predicted both the Army-Navy game and the 2 bowl games this week, the Frisco Bowl and the Salute to Veterans Bowl, and we also have our schedule for bowl season as well. It goes as follows. Again, for the next 3 Tuesdays, I guess, including yesterday, we will have weekly predictions with the college football playoffs. And then on January 2nd, we'll have the college football playoffs round 3. That's the Final 4 plus that week's bowl games. And then, of course, on January 7th, we will predict the national championship. And we also have our MMA predictions on the channel as well, PFL Europe predictions, and our UFC Tampa Covington versus Buckley predictions on the channel as well. Okay, and later today, we'll have our NFL predictions. So getting all that out the way, let's get into our first best bet of the video. Oh, also, yeah, make sure to join the 20,000 subscriber giveaway. It is pretty simple. All you gotta do is subscribe to the channel on YouTube and follow Greedo Plays YT on Instagram. It is the first link in the description down below. All right, now that we got all that out the way, here's our first best bet of the video. Yes, we are taking Long Island University. I can't do the accent. Long Island University versus UMass Lowell. Real quick before we get into this game, I know this video is going out at 9 o'clock, so this is why I didn't make it an official play. And I wouldn't feel good enough to make this official play, so I'm not going to make it an official play exactly. But I don't mind Norfolk State at Waco right now. The game is literally starting right now. If you're watching this video when this video is coming out, that's why this is not an official bet. The game does start at 9 a.m., at least for me. I guess 11 a.m. in Texas. I don't know why Baylor's getting 25.5 points in that game. I get it. Norfolk was horrible in the last game, didn't cover for us, but I actually took the alt line of plus 19.5 at plus 250. I really like that line. I don't think Baylor's able to win that game by more than 20 points. I think they're going to win it by like 15. So just saying, I don't mind that. If you want to live bet that right now, see what you get at halftime. I could look like a complete dumbass if, you know, the first half ends and Baylor's already up by 25 points, but I'm just saying what I'm playing in the morning. I'll be honest, I'm not even going to be up though. So when you're watching this, I'm sorry, I'm sleeping because this video is being recorded 2:36 in the morning. So yeah, I'm gonna wake up to either see Norfolk State cover or they're not covering. So one of the two. Regardless, Long Island versus UMass Lowell. I think 15.5 points is too much. Okay, this UMass Lowell Riverhawks team is coming off 1 win where they went on the road and beat UMass by 13 points. Before that, they lost back-to-back games to St. Louis and Central Connecticut. But even in their games at home where they win, the games that they have won this season at home, it's the win over Quinnipiac, it's the win over Merrimack. And sure, they won both those ball games, but they win it by 10 and 7. I just don't know where we pulled this 15.5 points out of. For Long Island University, I know, again, they've lost a lot this season. They are 4-7, but they've covered this line pretty much every single game they've played recently. I mean, they covered against Niagara. They lost by 8. They lost to Biddington, I think, by 5 points. They didn't cover against Lafayette and Winthrop, but they went on the road and beat Charlotte. They covered against Columbia. They covered this line against Cal Baptist. They beat Air Force earlier this season when we played against the Long Island Sharks. So I don't mind this spot here for LIU. I think they are able to cover this spread. Malachi Davis leads this team in points with 17 points a game, again, or 18 points a game. He's literally going to do everything for this basketball team. You got him and Jamal Fuller. For the Riverhawks, again, I've watched the Riverhawks play a couple times this season. I saw them stay somewhat competitive for points to their ball game against the Washington Huskies, and Washington is a very difficult team to really get a read on. I still think they're horrible. I know they blew out Eastern Washington last night, but everyone beats Eastern Washington. That's not a good basketball team. For the Riverhawks, though, they're led by 4 primary scorers. We're talking about Quentin Mincy, we're talking about Max Brooks, Martin Somerville, we're talking about Yuri Covington as well. Those are their main guys. I get it, again, the Riverhawks are at home for this basketball game, but I just think 15.5 points is too much, considering they don't really cover this line themselves. All of their wins this season against Division I schools, they are yet to cover this line. And on top of that, more than 50% of the games that Long Island plays, they cover this line too in their losses, right? UMass's wins, St. Peter's by 7, Quinnipiac by 10, Merrimack by 7, and Massachusetts by 13. They have not covered this line yet in a win this season. And that's in games where you get almost 30 points a night out of one of their stars. It's either Quentin Mincy's going to, score close to 30, Max Brooks is going to score close to 30, Martin Somerville is going to score close to 30. That's fine. Teams have still found ways to cover this line against the Riverhawks. And I get it. I think it's one of the larger lines the Riverhawks are going to get all season, but I just don't think Long Island University is that bad. I understand, again, they are coming off a 4-game losing streak against these Division I schools, but when you look at their most recent games, again, against Bennington, and against Niagara, they have covered this line in back-to-back games. We really like a guy who's been playing really well recently, Terrell Strickland. He's been performing, both scoring and grabbing rebounds as well. He only averages 9.5 points per game for this basketball team, but the last 3 games for Terrell Strickland have been really good, and obviously you still get their scorer and their leader on this basketball team in Malachi Davis as well. I do like the Long Island Sharks to cover the 15.5 points here. It's the first game of the day, other than, of course, that Baylor game. We like the Sharks to cover the 15.5 points here on the road in Massachusetts. Let's go on to our second best bet of the video. We do go to the Summit League, and now again, like the only game that we were successful in yesterday, shout out to North Dakota State, by the way, right? I know we're picking UND in this basketball game, but shout out to North Dakota State, right? On the road, they're 16.5 point dogs at Butler. They go to Indianapolis, and they don't just cover, they win the basketball game. That's what I'm talking about, man. Summit League basketball. It doesn't get much better than that, man. We love the Summit League over here, and I'm going to continue to pick the Summit League. That's why we are going with UND, North Dakota, to cover against Utah Valley. Now, I think this is a very old UND logo. They definitely use the logo with the Hawk now. I believe they're the Hawks, right? Yeah, they use the logo with the Hawks now, but it's fine. UND, again, the point remains. We think they're going to cover this 8.5 points here against the Utah Valley Wolverines. UND is coming off a victory at home where they beat Weber State by 5 points. They did lose on the road to Eastern Washington by 6 points, which I said earlier in the video, Eastern Washington is not that great. But at the same time, guys, Utah Valley is not that great of a team. They're really not. Something I don't understand is that these two teams have played already this season, and North Dakota beat them. I was very confused. I was looking at this. I was like, am I missing something here? No, UND has beat Utah Valley already this season. They played this year at North Dakota. Now they're going to do the second of their little 2-game set, again, non-conference 2-game set in Utah. I don't care, again, that, I'm not picking North Dakota to win this basketball game. I don't mind it. If I had to make a pick on a winner of this basketball game, I would say it would be Utah Valley at home. But I think that, again, the value here is plus 8.5 on the Fightin' Hawks. Again, North Dakota has beat Utah Valley already this season. They beat them by 6 points at home? Are you telling me this game is gonna swing math? This game's gonna swing more than 14 points the other direction just because the game's at Utah? I don't see it. I really don't. Utah Valley's a 4-5 team this season. Again, they look good at the beginning of the season, winning their NIAA game against Western Colorado, beating UTEP by 29 points. Great. Losing at North Dakota, winning on the road at Murray State, beating West Georgia, but then they just dropped 4 in a row to Samford. They lost to another Summit League team. Obviously, we're talking about the Bison of North Dakota State, who came out clutch for us yesterday, right? They lose to the Bison over there in Fargo. Or no, that's at home. They lost by 20 points. They lose at Stanford by 14. They lose at JMU by 17 points. And so why are they getting 8.5 points at home? I just don't understand it. Again, when I saw this line, I thought, oh, UND's getting 8.5 points at Utah Valley in Orem, Utah? No. Utah Valley's getting that many points at home for this basketball game. I think it's an absolutely ridiculous line. I'm not going to lie. Again, yes, this is me kind of being a Summit League homer here at the same time, but we have literally already seen this game this season. I mean, Trayson Eaglestaff has been phenomenal for the Fighting Hawks all year long. 18.5 points per game this season. And when you look back again to the original Utah Valley versus North Dakota game, it was less than a month ago. November 14th, these two teams played, and again, you got to give credit to Eaglestaff, the leading scorer of UND. He went out there and dropped 31 points in that basketball game. Shot 10 for 17 from the field, played 34 minutes. Again, put in 31 points. You look at what Utah Valley had that game. Ethan Potter put up 20, and everyone else, Dominic Nelson, Trevin Leonhardt put up 12. Tanner Toulson put up 10. Again, I don't think this game has a 14-point swing. Be a 15-point swing that would be needed for Utah Valley, just because the game is in Utah. Again, I will take Utah to win the basketball game, but ultimately that's not really what matters here for the pick. What matters is that we get North Dakota to cover the 8.5 points, regardless of if they win or not. If they win, added bonus, sure. I don't mind you playing North Dakota straight up on the money line. Personally, though, the pick for me is North Dakota to cover the spread at 8.5. I think that's a bargain. I'm not going to lie. I think it's an absolute bargain. It's one of my favorite picks today. We have another favorite pick in the Summit League. If you've been watching every single day, you probably know what Summit League team I'm talking about later in the video. But this is one of my favorite bets of the day today. I really like North Dakota to go on the road and cover the 8.5 points. I don't think this game swings that much just because the game's in Orem, Utah. Give me the North Dakota Fighting Hawks at the Summit League to cover the 8.5 points on the road, of course, at Utah Valley. The first game, Utah Valley was getting 5.5 points on the road. Now they're getting 8.5 at home. I don't understand it. I just don't. I know we're not in Grand Forks no more, but I still like North Dakota to cover this basketball game. I don't mind them on the money line either. Next up, we go to the Battle of Louisiana. We've got the Louisiana Raging Cajuns at home against Southeastern Louisiana. And yes, we are taking the home team in this one. We are taking the Raging Cajuns. I understand they're 1-8. I completely get that. But they've been playing good teams all year long. They have. They've been playing some good basketball teams. For Southeastern Louisiana, their big wins are Tulane and the Fighting Hawks of North Dakota we just talked about. But the difference in this game, again, they have to go on the road to play Louisiana. I feel like the Raging Cajuns are almost disrespected in the fact that this game is supposed to be so competitive. They should, again, in a normal year, you would expect the Raging Cajuns to go out here and beat the crap out of Southeastern Louisiana. I think at the beginning of the season, you'd probably expect the Raging Cajuns to win this basketball game. Hell, we expect them to win this one. But again, they're getting 2.5 points in this basketball game. I think they should cover this, and I think they should win. Again, the teams Louisiana has been playing all year long. They lost to Houston. Again, is what it is. They lost to Rice. That's not the best, by 22 points. They lost at home against Liberty by 20. Lost by 9 at home against George Washington. UAB by 12. Nichols by 1. It's getting better. And then Louisiana Tech, they lost by 11 points. I think they'll be okay in this one. Guys, the Raging Cajuns, I don't think we're supposed to be that bad to start this season. I don't think they were supposed to be this horrible. Yeah, this is a team that was voted 4th in the preseason coaches poll in the Sun Belt. Sure, they've had a very rough start, but you're telling me that this team, a team that was projected to be one of the better teams in the Sun Belt Conference, is going to lose this game at home against Southeastern Louisiana, a team that, honestly, when you look at them on paper, are not that impressive. They just win low-scoring, close games. That's how they win. I mean, their leading scorer in Sam Hines averages 14 points a game. Ja'Kavion Buckley averages 13. Jameer Isley averages 10. They don't really pop off the charts. And yes, they did beat North Dakota. I will give them that. They beat North Dakota. They went out there. They beat Tulane. Tulane's been struggling this season, but sure, I'll give them that. They went to New Orleans and beat Tulane. That's fine. I don't think they're able to do it twice, though, against teams that are supposed to beat Southeastern Louisiana. I get it. Louisiana hasn't been, the Raging Cajuns haven't been that impressive this year. But at some point, they are going to turn this around, and they are not going to remain this 1-8 lowly team. And again, if the Nichols game told us anything, is that they are making strides of improvement. Only losing the game by 1 point. I think they'll be fine in this one. They've gotten some real production in their last 2 games. They got real production out of Kyron Ratliff, a guy who, again, averages 8 points a game for Louisiana. 2 games ago, he dropped 25 points. Kentrell Garnett dropped 23 the other night, their last game. He averages 8 points a game. Guys are going to start coming through for this Raging Cajuns team, and I feel okay with it. Give me the Louisiana Raging Cajuns to win at home here against Southeastern Louisiana. They'll cover the 2.5 points as well. We are taking the home team in this one, and the Raging Cajuns to cover the spread and win. Again, I would feel disrespected if I'm on the Raging Cajuns. The fact that this is only the line you're getting against Southeastern Louisiana. Come on. Louisiana's got to cover this basketball game, and they got to win it. Next up, we move on to Provo, Utah. We've got the BYU Cougars at home against Fresno State. All right, I know what you're thinking. Why are we taking Fresno State? 27.5 points is just too many points. You look at what both these teams have done this season. Fresno has covered this line in every single game they've played this year except for one. It was their game. I can't believe this is the one team they didn't cover this against. Cal State Bakersfield. They lost the game by 28 points. But they have covered this line in every single game they've played this season. For BYU, I get it. They just had AJ commit to their school on First Take. Stephen A. Smith said, oh, I'm surprised you didn't commit to UNC because then you would have got to play Duke. I mean, again, shout out to AJ for saying, oh, well, I'm just going to play. Who said I can play Duke at BYU? Fair. He's not on the team yet, though. And BYU's coming off a 19-point loss in Rhode Island to Providence. Like, was that a tournament game? That might have been a tournament game. I think it was. No, they did go to Rhode Island, and they lost by 19 points. Guys, I just watched Providence yesterday. I know they beat DePaul, but you know what? Both those teams suck. They're both horrible. The Big East, I don't see it, guys. I don't see it with the Big East. I don't think the Big East is that good. I don't know. I could be wrong, but the games I've watched this year in the Big East, those teams just don't impress me. I'm sorry. The games on FS1 just don't impress me. I don't know. That could just be me. But, I mean, hell, I just watched Butler lose to North Dakota State. Trust me, I love the Bison, but that's really what the Big East has to offer? I don't know, man. I'm not impressed. BYU just lost that game by 19 points. Sure, they beat NC State. Again, that's not the same NC State team as last year. It's never going to be. They lost to Ole Miss by 11 points. It is what it is. But again, BYU's wins, they don't even cover this, though. Like, again, they covered against Mississippi Valley State. That doesn't count. But even their win over Riverside, yes, that cesspool known as UC Riverside, they only won the game by 26 points. They didn't cover. I know. Again, I'm cherry picking these stats. I get it because they didn't cover the 27.5, but they couldn't cover that against Riverside. Idaho, they win the game by 24 points. They don't cover it. Central Arkansas, they beat them by 38 points. Guys, Fresno State's going to be better than those teams. I get it. The Bulldogs are not good. But the Bulldogs do have a victory on the road at the beach this year. And hey, Long Beach State kind of turning it around. Shout out Devin Askew and the guys winning their last game last night against a team that's on the ban list in the USD. What are they, the Torrejos? Where the hell they are? God, they're on the ban list. What are those? The Torrejos? Yeah, I don't know. Toros? I don't know. Anyway, shout out to Long Beach State actually winning a game last night. Fresno State has beat Long Beach State, right? And again, even in Fresno State's losses, they've covered this in every single game other than the Bakersfield game. Santa Clara lost by 25 points. San Diego State lost by 22 points. 15 points in the South Dakota. This is the Santa Clara game, I think. Yes, 15 points in the Santa Clara game. 22 in the San Diego State game. 5 in the Cal Baptist game. 11 points lost to Washington State. They beat Long Beach State. They beat Prairie View A&M. Santa Barbara lose the game by 5 points. They beat Sac State. The only game where they have not covered this line is at Bakersfield. I get it. They got to go to a Big 12 team in this game. I don't really care. I think Fresno State can stay within this line. 27.5 points just feels like too much for a guy in Zion Collins, who's averaging 14.5 points per game this season. Elijah Price cleaning it up on the glass for Fresno as well. I mean, he's averaging 9 and 9 this season with 29 minutes. He is their primary big. I think Fresno's going to be okay in this basketball game. I don't anticipate them to win. I mean, hell, I even wrote it out for you. BYU wins just because I didn't want to write up the minus 10,000. It was going to mess up the logos. Which is fine. Again, BYU's going to win this basketball game, but 27.5 points just feels like too much. I do think Fresno State's able to cover this line. It's not one of my favorite bets today, but again, it is within the top 5, obviously. Obviously, my favorite bets come in the Summit League today, and we're going to get to our final Summit League game in a minute here. So full transparency, this is probably bet number 5 out the 5 that I've given you today, but I don't mind it. I do think Fresno State's able to cover this 27.5. It just feels like too many points. It really does. I know BYU, again, they got the momentum of landing the number 1 recruit in the country. Okay, he's not playing. He's not playing this game. Doesn't matter. They're going to win, but 27.5 points is a lot to put on this BYU team, a team that is coming off a 19-point loss in their last game in Rhode Island. I don't think they cover this large line. I think Fresno will be able to take it. Not win, obviously, but they will cover the 27.5 points. Okay, let's go into our final game. And yes, we've been teasing it. Here is the South Dakota State Jackrabbits. Again, if you've been watching, you know that I love the Jackrabbits because they usually cover for us. Now, the last game that we picked them in was the Montana game. It was the Summit Big Sky Challenge. They lost, okay? Rough game for them. They had to go on the road. They gotta go to Montana. They lost it. Coming off a victory over East Washington, they beat them by 21 points. Guys, that's more points than what Washington just beat Eastern Washington then against. I completely messed it up. That's more points than how many Washington beat Eastern Washington by last night. South Dakota State's a good team, okay? They did run into a Montana team on the road and lose. I am taking them to beat Nevada. Now, that's the ballsy pick. You can take them on the money line. I don't mind it, plus 450. The pick that we really like is 10.5. I don't think they get blown out in this basketball game. If they lose it, it's going to be a close game like they lost to Boise earlier in the season. Yes, South Dakota State played Boise, neutral site game. They lost the game by 1 point. They were 12.5 point dogs in that, or 9.5 point dogs in that game, and they covered the line. I anticipate them to cover this game against Nevada, a Nevada team that has been struggling recently. Okay, lost back-to-back games. They've lost 3 of 5. Date back to their Vandy loss, they lose it by 2. They beat VCU, they beat OK State, but as we've gotten back to non-tournament games, they lose to Washington at home by 11 points, and they lose on the road at LMU by 4 points. Nevada's not been playing that great of basketball this season. Sure, they looked good earlier in the year when they played Santa Clara, when they played Washington. What have you done lately? Nevada hasn't been all that impressive. So we are fading the Wolfpack in this game. This is, again, a combination of me fading the Wolfpack and a combination of that, of course, and me just picking my guys with the Jackrabbits. One bad game in Montana, that's okay. They bounce back in the Eastern Washington game. We need a big night out of Oscar Clough. That's absolutely what we need, because he did not have a big game in the Montana game. In the Eastern Washington game, Oscar Clough posted about, I believe, a triple-double with 19 points and about 10 rebounds. Again, this is a guy who averages 19 and 12 for the South Dakota State team. Again, I made the comparison before. He doesn't play exactly like Mike Dom, but if you know college basketball, if you've been watching college basketball for a while, you know who Mike Dom is. He's one of the few guys to score 3,000 points in his collegiate career. I'm sure that list has expanded since, of course, Dom did it back in, 18? But still, when Mike Dom, the impact he had for the South Dakota State team is almost like what Oscar Clough is doing. They don't play like the same player, but they're both bigs, and Oscar Clough, again, is a dominant player like Mike Dom is. So we are going to need a huge night out of Oscar Clough tonight. We are going to need it, because he didn't... Excuse me, I think I said he didn't have a big night in the Montana game. He didn't play the Montana game, right? Yeah, he didn't play the Montana game. And they only lost the game by 4 points. When Oscar Clough is playing, this team's a different squad. I think the guy, every single game he's played so far this season, except for one, and that was their win over lowly Mount Marty College, he's posted a double-double. That's just what Clough does. He's a monster on the glass, and he is going to lead their team in scoring as well. They are a different team with Oscar Clough on the court. And that's why they lost to Montana, because Clough didn't play. Now you get him against Nevada. I think they are able to cover this line. Nevada's not bad. Again, Kobe Sanders leading scorer with 16 points. You get Nick Davidson, who's averaging 14.5. I think South Dakota State, though, again, I really like plus 10.5. I don't mind the money line as well. We are officially picking South Dakota State to go to Reno and win the game. I know, again, you're getting 10.5 points. You can take that too, but we're taking both of them. South Dakota State on the money line, South Dakota State on the spread. They've been cashing for us all season long. They will continue to do it. They are the best team in this very good Summit League. We're talking about North Dakota State. We're talking about a team that we haven't even talked about yet this year, in the South Dakota Coyotes. I think we talked about them once all year. They are coming off a huge victory last night where they beat Wyoming, right? There are good teams in the Summit League. South Dakota, of course. North Dakota is not horrible. We haven't even talked about the St. Thomas, Minnesota Tommies yet this season. That's a team who's 7-4. He's coming off a big victory over Montana and Northern Colorado in back-to-back games. Guys, trust me, the Summit League produces great basketball, and there are some really underrated teams in this league. There really are. The top of the Summit League: South Dakota State, North Dakota State, South Dakota, St. Thomas, Minnesota, Denver, North Dakota. Good basketball teams, man. Kansas City, hell, a team who last night went on the road to Portland and won. The Roos went to Portland and won. I get it, the Roos aren't very good, but still, they did pull off that big victory last night at Portland, right? You look at all these teams in the Summit League, with the exception, I guess, of Oral Roberts, who's been very unimpressive this season, and Omaha, who's been pretty bad, who did actually, though, just go on the road to Sacramento State and win. I know Sac State's horrible, too, but, like, the Summit League, guys, produces great basketball players and great basketball teams, and South Dakota State, again, they produce winners. Don't get me started on the lineage of guys who've come from South Dakota State: Mike Dom, Skylar Flatton, David Jenkins, Oscar Wilson. I believe it's Oscar Wilson, right? What's Oscar Wilson? Oh God. Well, anyways, Zeke Mayo, Baylor Shireman. There have been nothing but absolute ballers who've come through the South Dakota State program, and they are going to continue to do so. Douglas Wilson, I called him Oscar Wilson, my fault. South Dakota State, again, I think they are able to go on the road here and beat Nevada. We've been taking the Jacks all year long, and we're going to continue to take them here tonight. So, folks, thank y'all for watching our 5 best bets for college basketball here on December 11th. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more daily college basketball best bets here on the channel. We'll be back again in an hour for our NBA predictions with the in-season tournament, and we'll be back tomorrow again for more daily college basketball predictions and best bets on the channel as well. So, folks, thank y'all for watching. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more, and Mamba forever.